Bills fans. Bills fans. How good does it feel? How good does this feel? For too long at One Bills Drive, the place, the people that ran it, turned it into a museum. Come look at all the cool things, all the winning we used to do, all the cool people that used to play here, all the cool stuff that used to happen on that field. Not anymore. Because now we don't have to look back at the 90s anymore. We don't have to think about the past anymore, constantly reminisce, especially us older heads, about what used to be. Tell the young cats about, oh, Kelly used to do this, Thurman used to. No, 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 no. We're watching the new generation. What's now? All the cool stuff that's going to happen. The cool stuff that is happening. All the fun that long awaited and we knew it was coming. That's what you do. That's what a real legit contender does. They go out there on the road against a 4-8 team and they curb stomp them from pillar to post. Relentless. That's what you do. For too long, we were the Denver Broncos. We were the Denver Broncos. We either didn't have a QB or we didn't know about the young QB we had, and we were watching this fun, young, cool team on the come up with an exciting young quarterback lighting us up, and we were just hoping one day that would be us. That would be, oh man, what's that like? We were on the receiving end of those type of beatings. Now we're the team given the beating. We're the team enjoying the beating. We're the team that's got the hammer and is willing to swing it over and over again. Relentless pursuit of the end zone. That team could have scored 60 points today. They easily left 21 points on that field. Levi Wallace had an interception in his hands on the first drive. Dropped it. Teron Johnson definitely had an interception. And he dropped it. I think he was worried about running with the ball. He had it in his hands. What's up, guys? And look at Jerry Hughes going back to his high school days as a running back. Scoop and score. Defense hadn't had a defensive touchdown in almost 2.5 years. It was going on 3. And then 2 straight weeks. They come in bunches. It's first time since 1999 this team has scored over 400 points in a year. For the first time since 1999, they've won 11 games. The best record since, at this point in the season, the same point in the season since, I want to say, 93. Second 4,000-yard passer in franchise history. Second 30-touchdown passer in franchise history. Most total touchdowns for a quarterback in Bills history. Diggs breaks the record held by Eric Moulds for catches in a year. The list goes on, and it's 2 games left. And the message from this team was, after the game, everything you want to hear. 1, not done. This is great, but this isn't what we want. They lead off the AFC East video with the loss in Houston, knowing how gutting that loss. And we all know what the goal is now. Get the number 2 seed. Get that number 2 seed. Ensure yourself 2 home playoff games if you win the first. 2 home playoff games, and you avoid KC in both rounds. Give yourself the best opportunity now to move forward later. It just the way all this stuff has come together, I mean, the whole trust the process thing was kind of looked at with a little crooked, we've heard trust the process, then Nathan Peterman happens, and then 18 happens, and the Allen pick happens, and all the stuff that went along with that, and just trust the process. It's tattooed on every Bill's soul right now. That's all there is. It just, yeah, and of course we had to hear about other teams. Mark Shrelith did the game. I was shocked that he was more partisan, he was very centrist in the because I've heard him on some Broncos broadcasts cheering on, being a cheerleader for the Broncos. He was pretty okay. Some of the penalties in the game were horrific. The one on Milano, which extended the drive at the end of the first half that they ended up scoring a touchdown on, was so infuriating. Like, how do you not throw a flag, hang around for 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden decide to throw a flag? I just, what are you doing? What are you doing? The Bills, down in the red zone, had gotten backed up. The ball, when you guys see the replay of the ball that Josh, it was, what was it? 1st and 25, 1st and 30 on second down of that drive. The ball that Jake Kumaro, of all people, catches Josh Allen's 30th touchdown pass of the year. Jake Kumaro, when you guys see that ball, what a beautiful pass. What a beautiful pass. Division champs, AFC East division champs for the first time in over 25 years. All the stuff I've alluded to, either you guys weren't alive to see it, were alive, but we're too young to remember it. And a lot of firsts, a lot of new. It was such a great, fun game to watch, a game that we all knew that this team was capable of since you start watching week 2, week 3, all right, you knew this team was capable. And now today we saw it. Man, who can deny they couldn't have scored 60 points today? That's what I want. You're so goddamn good. You are so good. You leave 21 points on the field. Remember last year, the year before, 21 points is a godsend. Remember, it was get to 17 or 20 and pray. They have 20 points at halftime. They've got 17 points at halftime. How about the last 3 weeks, the third quarter? They've outscored opponents 31-0. For the second time in 2 weeks, they've come out straight and scored a touchdown on the opening drive. That is massive. That is massive. He's the most physically talented quarterback the Bills have ever had, yes. And I think I didn't see Joe Ferguson. I didn't see Ferguson. I saw Kelly. He's the most physically gifted quarterback I've ever seen the Bills have. And he instills the most confidence in me that the Bills have a quarterback probably since Flutie. Flutie always gave me confidence, but Allen gives me, it's the coolness he plays the game with now. We all know he has the physical gifts. We all know he has the arm, the ability with the movement and the size. Like today, he finally just decompressed the defense. He got them in, and they were crossed up. They were desperate for the second, and Josh just bolts. And everybody forgets the guy can run sometimes because they're winging it all over the place, and he scrambles up the middle for a 23-yard touchdown. Earlier in the game, he's on the move. Nothing open. He has the edge. He takes it in for a touchdown. And it's that element that is there, but sometimes you forget is there with the amount of passing that they do now. But then you see in the running game with Moss, Singletary. I know Singletary had a friends and family touchdown at the end of the game, but still, you see those creases. You see those holes are popping open now. And even early in the game, they were getting solid runs. And, man, Allen just – some of the passes he threw today were phenomenal. He missed a couple, of course, but the deep shot to Diggs He missed one earlier on the other side, and Diggs, I don't know, failed maybe to get his foot inbounds. Knox, I believe, is his what is it? His third game and 4 with a touchdown. Had a big pass caught today. You know, he had the layout for that ball in the end zone. So this team is, you know, has so many weapons offensively. Very, very hard to game plan for. Very hard to game plan for. You don't know who's going to thrive, who's going to feature. You just know Allen's going to throw it all over the place. And it just, Beasley had the quietest 100-yard game I've ever seen in my life. But you look back, he had some big catch and runs. And it's just, you expect it now. You expect these guys to make plays and get big numbers, and they're doing that in record pace. For a lot of us, the early 90s, the offenses, we remember it, but it was a mystery. You know, it's in the past. It gets blurry after a while. Haven't seen an offense like this, I mean, for a lot of you guys, since the Chan Gailey days. And even then, they were limited. They didn't have the talent at receiver, the girth of talent. They definitely didn't have the quarterback. They didn't have, I believe so, without Brown too. I mean, they didn't want to have him get on the plane. You know, I think a lot of these guys are a little banged up. You saw some cramps kick in, a few stingers, but from what I understand, everything I read, everybody looks okay. I saw Trey White dancing in the tunnel. Vernon Butler went back in the game. I believe Levi Wallace went back in the game. So everybody, you know, they did pull Williams out. I saw him on the sideline, and they put in Inseki at right tackle. But from what I understand, everybody is a little banged up. I just don't think they wanted to put Brown out on the field for the first time on the road, you know, have him take a long plane ride there and back, you know, to give him another week. You know what you're capable of without him now. As you can see today, 350 plus yards, you know, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. You know, it was just a clinic out there. I think that they know what they're capable of now without him. And now with him, you're really going to be able to you're going to be able to spot him. You don't have to force anything. You're going to be able to spell Diggs a little bit more, Beasley more. You can rotate. Jake Kumaro, you got him too. Man, that was a nice catch, because that safety was coming hard, and he caught the ball, and it was a missile, man. He put that right over the linebacker, right in a seam. What a beautiful pass he threw. And the run defense has gotten a little better. They held it down for the most part. The one run that, you know, I think they were thinking pass, but then Gordon just broke through. It was a 3rd and 10. You just hate giving up that type of play down in there. The ball that locked through to Fant was a hell of a ball. But outside of that, I really didn't come away impressed with Drew Lock at all today. I mean, he had a really good game against a team playing right now, the Carolina Panthers, 4 touchdowns. But I didn't see anything special from him today that wowed me, or, you know, made me fear him, or, you know, he had some nice runs. Some of the balls he threw, I mean, there was some okay ones, but I didn't see anything that was just off the charts, like, oh God, this guy is just awe-inspiring. Did have the Trey White had a hell of a game. The one pass breakup he had with Fant, that was beautiful, the way he sat there and he let Fant, you know, pass him, and was confident enough to just keep his feet moving, recover, tip that. That was a 3rd down that they had backed up the Broncos after a hell of a punt by Bohorquez. And it was a great game to watch, but frustrating, because, you know, there's so much more there. You know, you have Andre Roberts, you know, fumble, and it just gives them a lifeline. And it was like, at that point you were setting up for the blowout, even right there, and then it just delayed it a little bit. It delayed it, but it was inevitable, and that's the thing that was really really great to watch. Is that blowout was coming hell or high water. That fumble just delayed it a little bit, but when they got up 28, I knew that Broncos offense just doesn't have it. They have a young receiving core, a young quarterback, a line that's a little shaky, and the Bills Sandlock's movement almost got home a little bit on him. And Oliver had his third sack of the year. He broke through big. Addison had a sack. White came from the backside, forced the fumble, and Jerry Hughes was not going to be denied. He was not going to be denied. He made a hell of a play to get that ball in the end zone. And there's those easy touchdowns that we've been waiting for, right? Those gimmies. And that's what good teams do. They bury you when you're stressed to make a play on offense. The Broncos had to make a play on offense. They're going to start trying to do little extras. And we've seen it. How many times we play the Patriots over the years, the Patriots get up 2 touchdowns and you start stressing, and you force something and boom, there's the big turnover. Now you're down 21. You're not coming back. Game over, you're done. And that's what I had every confidence this team could just go up and down the field and score on that team all day long. No doubt about it. I don't think any of you didn't either. I'm sure you guys were all just as confident as I was that they could just do whatever they wanted. Offensively, defensively. The defense has really, really come together in the last, 5-6 weeks. They had a friends and family touchdown. They were exchanging yards for time, and they've done that a lot in the last couple of weeks. They did it with the Chargers. They did it with the Steelers, and they did it this week. And they've really really come together. And this team is a different team. It really has become a different team. And I don't even want to say the Hail Mary, because even then, it takes a miracle, and this team could be on an 8-game winning streak. And it's, this team is as good as I think as people. I don't think people are prepared for this team being good. That's what I think it is. I don't think the fans even know how good, we want this team to be good, but like we're starting to realize now how good they are, The steps that this quarterback has taken, this coach does not get out coached. This team does not get out schemed. This team just doesn't get out worked. It's insane that we're that team, we're that organization that's one step ahead, that just has that, that has the, the forward thinking, the aggressive nature, just the throwing it all over the place. Everybody thought, McDermott's this stale coach, just wants to run and play defense. Well, when you find a quarterback, guess what? You have him play pitch and catch all over the field and throw for however many yards and however many touchdowns, and you have fun. That's what you do. You play defense with a lead, and you enjoy it. But you guys have been blowing up the chat. The usual suspects, a few new ones. Thank you guys so much. Sorry I talk so much, but it is amazing to think about where we've been going back to 17 when this thing all started with McDermott, Bean, Tyrod, just being the steady hand for that season, and the transition to Allen, the rough year that was. And if you look at that year, there was probably 2 or 3 wins the Bills could have had because of special teams alone. The punting game was bad that year. The returns, I remember there was like 3 or 4 muff punts that teams scored on. You had the Peterman debacle. There was so many hiccups along the way. And last year was, it was they're facing bad teams, they're feasting on cupcakes. And now this year with a much tougher schedule, all the issues with this thing going on, and no fans, and they've just stayed the course. The trajectory has continued. And, like, it's just great to watch. It's just really great to watch this team. and again, I'll say it again, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. It pains me that the fans cannot be there to enjoy this. It really, really pains me, for somebody who's never been there, never been to a game up there, that they cannot be in there, in that stadium to enjoy this, to watch this, to experience this live, because they've earned it. Bills fans deserve this. Those last 3 weeks have been amazing, and you've earned all of it. All of it. The 49er game, the national, the 3 national games, the primetime games, this year, after a couple of stinkers early on. The Bills are now 3-0, and they look like a different squad under the lights. And it was a relaxing game, just like Eric said. It was relaxing. You felt confident. You knew the blowout was coming. It was just that one. Once Hughes gets that ball on the ground and starts running, he's going to score. It's it. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It, and boom, done. And we're having fun. We're relaxing. You get to go to New England as division champs. You shed a tear. I shed a tear, man. I shed a tear for, this guy messaged me. He didn't message me. He commented on my Twitter, and he said, "Oh, I've been watching you since those dark days. Watched your first video in 2007." And I thought about where this team was in 2007 under, Jerron, Trent, the ownership, losing that game to Dallas the way they did, and trying to talk everybody off a ledge that night. It was the first Bills video I did, and all the stuff that's transpired till now, and all the football games we've watched, and how we've been the Broncos during the course of that time, and watched fun teams get new, exciting quarterbacks and have on the come up organizations, and just watch other, fun, exciting players make plays and throw all over the yard, and it was never us. It's never us. And we sat around, was like, what is it? We're not allowed to have that? We can't have fun in Buffalo? It's like, it's a crime if we get a quarterback and want to throw the ball. We got to, be tough and run and play in the wind and the rain and the snow. And then we just can't. No, that's what this team is now. We have a modern day. We're in the league now. We're not just in the league. We're there, right there. This team is a top 3 football team in this league, no doubt about it. And I know I sound like a honk, a fanboy. This is a top 3 football team. Hail Murray fucking getting rescheduled, jerked around by the league. Early for 2 games. This team is 12-2. 12-2. And that's right. Timothy brought up their defense was getting after it on the sideline. I believe it was one of the defensive linemen and Bradley Chubb were arguing and jawing and barking back and forth. And you knew that they knew they were in for a long day. They knew they were in for a long day. They knew that they could not stop this team. They were down in numbers. That's not the Bills' problem. Attack. And that's what they did. Attack. They had no interest in running today. None. They didn't care to run. They ran when they had to, when they wanted to play keep away. But outside of that, they really just did what they wanted to do offensively when they wanted to do it, and they got it done. And you hear, I've seen a lot of people allude to this in the comments about, the comparisons Drew Lock to Josh Allen, and people are, they're saying that, is his trajectory better or is it worse? Or, that's for them. That's for them. I'm not worried about their situation. I'm worried about the Bills getting better, staying the course, and just winning, continuing to win. And this quarterback just continuing his ascent up the ladder. He's not only a top 10 quarterback now, he's in the discussion for top 5. I think after today, I think he's jumped Aaron Rodgers in the MVP chase, behind Mahomes, of course. And it's hard to argue against Mahomes. And I just see that, who would have thought, we'd have seen this. And this upcoming week, you have even more motivation to go to New England, and make a statement in a place that's been a house of horrors for the Bills, at the hands of an organization that has just terrorized the fan base, the teams, you name it. You have a chance to go there and bury them. And bury them. And there's nothing more than I think any of us would want than that. Now, they'll be motivated to knock an upstart young team off too. That's fine. But you know what? We have the quarterback now. We have just as good a coach. And I believe we have better players top to bottom. And so let's do it. So let's go to New England. That's a place that the Bills went to last year and damn near won. I think Allen is going to think about that, and he's going to want to rectify that this upcoming week and go after them and just get at that team. And that's what you do to a team like that. You get at them. They've only have 5 or 6 passing touchdowns all year. They're not a very good passing team. They're a solid team, but they're not really great at any one thing. You go out there and you make a statement against them too. This is what you do to 6 and 7 football teams. This is what you do to average to below average teams. You just bury them. It was really frustrating in the upcoming, in the lead up to this week. You still have naysayers and doubters, and you're always going to have those until you become one of the guys, right? You have the it club, you have the beyond criticism club, and even certain guys like this have received criticism, but the Aaron Rodgers is kind of in that look, don't touch category. He's almost beyond criticism. Mahomes, yeah, and certain quarterbacks over the years are like that. Peyton Manning, Brady, but a very select few. And Allen, he's not in that class yet. But there's still people who are gridlocked into thinking he's still the same guy that he was when he was drafted, or maybe he's gotten a little better, but they don't want to give him the credit. They don't want to give him like any praise for all the work he's done to improve himself or the team. They just constantly want to find these little, they just want to use things and find things to say like he's only good because of this. But he's only like they're disgusting in their hubris and their arrogance and just their stubbornness into saying, just be like a lot of us and say we were wrong. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. ain't one of us that hasn't fucking talked shit on a player. That and also, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I am now. I want to thank Dominic Foxworth for giving this team another little extra edge, just a little bit of edge, a little bit extra motivation, because we all saw, or heard what he said about Allen, and being happy when he does something dumb, and because the fans that root for him or whatever, and there's a whole other sub story to that I won't even touch, but you saw the way the team on Twitter got behind Allen. You saw Feliciano, you saw Poyer. This team loves their quarterback. This team rallies around this guy. This team goes to bat for this guy. And that said so much to me. And that the same can't be said about other Bills quarterbacks in the past. It couldn't have been said about Kelly till late 89. And Kelly had been there for 4 years. And and the team hears these things. Their media didn't touch it. Most media that cover the Bills didn't even touch it. That tells you all you need to know, which is, to me, it's disgusting and hypocritical, because if the reverse was done, that guy's gone from ESPN, and they're talking to that quarterback, whoever he might have been, all week about those comments being made. We all know that's the truth. There's no disputing that. But be that as it may, Allen came out, had himself a hell of a game. Probably should have had two more touchdown passes. Had a great run, and it's just like Eric said. This team is so focused and they're so together. They're the most together Bills team I've seen since the '90s group, and it took a lot of shit for that team to come together. They had to have the come to Jesus meeting where Daryl Talley made Bruce Smith and Jim Kelly have dinner together. And then they had dinner together all the time. And then all of a sudden, all the guys had dinner together. They're the most, and we've heard a lot of coaches and players, talk about that, but it's never like the 04 team. The 04 team couldn't have been more divided. They were 9-7, missed the playoffs the last game of the year against the Steelers, threes and backups. But that team was completely divided. There was offense on one side, defense on other, and they just barely interacted because the defense and special teams carried that team for most of the year. If you remember that season, a lot of return touchdowns, a lot of defensive stops, short fields, crazy stuff happened in that year that fell the right places. It was fun to watch, but they didn't finish. And just this team is they're so close knit. It's really nice to see. And whatever atmosphere, environment McDermott has fostered there and helped cultivate and nurture, it's amazing. And it's everything that we've ever wanted and everything that I called for in that video in 14. Just get somebody in there that's all business, all football, and the focus is on winning and the product on the field, because that's what it's all driven by. Hype is fun, win in the offseason and draft picks, it's all sexy. But at the end of the day, what happened on that field today and what's happened during this course that they're on with this quarterback in particular is what we've wanted for so long. And, for somebody to finally have come and it looks like the fruits of their labor are coming to fruition and we're seeing the results, and we deserve this. We deserve this because we've been there so long. We would pray for a guy to just throw for 2 and change, a couple of touchdowns, and score 28 points. He scored 28 points. We were in hog heaven. Now this team they fuck around and score 27. Seriously, the last 3 weeks the last 3 weeks, they've handed opposing teams touchdowns. Handed it via turnovers. Zach Moss fumble against 49ers. They fucked around the week before, turned over the ball 3 straight possessions against the Chargers. Last week against the Steelers, was it the hit hand or was it the Knox fumble? One of the two. Handed them a touchdown. This week, Andre Roberts, they're ready to put the foot on the throat. And they still, 27 points, 30-some points, 27 points, and 49. Just play a clean game. You play a clean game, man, this team's unstoppable if they play a clean game. That's the game I'm looking for, that clean game. Today was as clean and as seamless, but that clean game comes for this team where, there's no turnovers and they're this efficient on offense and they're going for it on 4th downs and they're converting and they're keeping the sticks moving and they're putting the ball in the end zones. Like, that's the one thing about Allen, and it's the one thing that I saw today when he threw the ball to Jake Kumro. That's a thing that great quarterbacks do. They don't care who's in the end zone. They throw it to them. And I'll remind you of somebody. Remember a guy named Tynes? I forget his last name. He was he played for the Patriots. He played for the Patriots. And he caught it was a pass from Brady in the end zone in Buffalo. It was like, who was it on? I think it was on Aaron Williams and Stephon Gilmore. It was just like it was a great catch, beautiful pass, and there was no stopping it. And it was that kind of thing where he doesn't care if it's Lee Smith, Jake Kumaro. He's putting the ball in the end zone. He's going for the guy in the end zone. He's gonna try to score. He goes for the jugular. It's like if you notice the Bills, once they get on the fringes of the red zone, they start taking shots at the end zone. They start going for it. They start, just that seam shot that he hit to Kumaro was wow. I'm waiting for Dawson Knox to catch that pass. That's the kind of touchdown I want to see from a Bills tight end, because I think the middle of the field there's still a lot of yards in that middle of the field. Beasley gets a lot of them, but I want to see them slowly but surely work in Knox in that area. And he's really, in the last few weeks, he's really come on, and he's getting the reps that Tyler Kroft would probably be getting. But you're trying to develop a young player, a guy you're going to have in your building guaranteed for 2 more years. These are valuable. And the last, was it the last, he scored 3 touchdowns out of the last 4 games. He's got 11 catches, and, he seems to be playing with more confidence now than he had early in the year. He had the injury, he got the COVID, and man, I just really hope that, this guy, because if this team gets work out of the tight end, I mean, I'm talking like consistent threat. It's scary. It is scary. But a crazy stat, I believe the Bills have, I want to say they have 10 touchdowns out of their tight end position. I want to say they have 10 touchdowns out of the tight end position this year. And you never would have thought that. Like that's a sneaky stat. That's a sneaky stat that I was like, what? As that many out of? Because Kroft has 3, Knox has 3, Lee Smith has, I thought he had 2. Reggie Gillum has 1, he has 1, so 8 touchdowns, which is, still like that's a lot of touchdown production out of your tight ends. Yeah, it's not bad for yeah, I think we're past that now. I think we're past the whole inaccurate developmental quarterback guy that is just an athlete playing the position. He's more of a thrower than a passer. I think we're all past that now. And the more he develops those mechanics, and you see the work he was doing with Jordan Palmer, getting his motion, the amount of work that this guy has put in that we don't see is amazing. It's amazing that how focused this guy is at being good. And, here he is doing the interview after the game. They were playing it, 28 for 40, 359, 2 touchdowns passing, 2 rushing. And Deion Dawkins is all over him. Feliciano's all over him. And you just love seeing that. You just love, you just love seeing it. Haven't seen a team galvanized by a quarterback like this since Kelly. It's crazy. I think the other quarterback that the team loved the most, I mean, if you heard about teammates talk about him now and then, it was Fitz, and they didn't do much winning. But still, for a reason or another, they love the guy. But it's really, really fun to watch a young quarterback like this just blossom. He's got 39 total touchdowns for the year, second in the NFL. He's got 2 more weeks. That's the great part about it. He's got 2 more weeks if he does play the last week of the year. And if the Bills play with the last week of the year, and they know that if, hey, we win this, we're home for 2 straight weeks. We don't have to go on the road unless KC, wins their game and they move on. If you have that chance to host an AFC championship game, if you have that opportunity, you take it. So I think that week 17 game means something. You don't want to, like, if you remember last year, the Bills were 1-3. They had one in Pittsburgh, and then they lost. They just pretty much threw away the game at the end of the year against the Jets. They tried to win against New England, came close at the end, didn't pull it out. So yeah, they had, they were 1-3. I believe the Ravens were in there too. I'm not sure. I think they were. Don't quote me on that though, because the seasons, man, they've been fun. And I got it right here. Yeah, it was the Ravens. They barely, one possession game. Pittsburgh, they got, you see these scores too, 17 points, 17 points, 17 points, last part of the year. And you're like, damn, they just, and even the playoff game, you got like 16, 19 points. Now you look this year, 24, 44, 30, 27, 34, 26. Today was 48. But even prior to that, you had a couple of weeks, 18, 17, 16. But before that, 30, 35, 31, 27. So this team is, I knew there was a breakout game here. We all been calling for it. Ever since the season started, we knew that there was a romp game coming. I want this upcoming week, I feel, is just as big, if not big, for this team than this one, because you're going to play the evil empire. Granted, there's no more Brady. It does not matter. The ethos of that team, what they stand for, how long they were on top of the division. 7 in this year, Trapsdale. 7 300-yard passing games this year. I'm going to go look right now. He has more passing yards in one season than Jim Kelly ever had. He's only the second 4,000-yard passer in franchise history. I don't know if some of you remember Bledsoe's 02 season as well. I mean, it was fun, but they were 8-8. Kelly in 01 had 6. So he's got more than Kelly. Kelly had no 400-yard games. Allen has 2. And I just want to preface this when I talk about passing numbers from the past as to now. Yeah, I want to sweep the East. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, game manager, right? The rules are different. The contact rules are different on the receivers. The defenseless receivers that did not exist then. Going over the middle, even though Reed was famous for it, was almost like a faux pas. It was really a sacred place. Very few guys entered because you get fucking crushed over there. So you had to do a lot of your passing outside the numbers. There was passing in the middle. They were just more like checkdowns. They weren't like big. You couldn't really scheme up these crossers and crazy stuff that they do now with these pick plays and all this natural picks or whatever you want to call them, rub routes, switch releases. There's a lot of, offenses are much more multiple, much more dimensional. So are defenses, though. I will say that. So be that as it may, offense back then definitely was not geared toward the pass. So I like to watch but you have a guy that can do that now. I can go blunt with the rest of you fools in the league and we're fine. We're good. And it's just a delicious thing to watch. It really was. Today was a game we had not just been waiting for. We've been dreaming about for a really long time, to be fans of that young, fun, upstart team that just is taking the league. They're that new team. They're that hot new toy. And I'm going to tell you guys this. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm going to say it. Be prepared for the frauds. Be prepared for the fake Bills fans. They're going to start coming. Watch. You're going to see the fake Bills fans. You're going to see. I always said, this team has made it when you see fake Bills fans. It's the nature of the beast. And it's blah, but it's like, you know what? That's what happened. We all know who the real cats are. We all know who the real cats are. We all know who the real fans are. Anybody who's been in this room has, suffered and just sat through the shit storms, weathered it all, and still came out on the other side. And, we're seeing the sun shining now, but every week is a new challenge, and I'm still We're going to enjoy this. We get the 48-hour rule. We get the victory Monday. We get the victory Sunday. We get the victory Tuesday. But this team, they're back to work on Monday, hopefully Tuesday. But they get a little bit of a long week. New England plays tomorrow, so they got a little bit of a head start on rest with them. They get to watch them tomorrow, see what happens in the game, who plays, who doesn't play, where New England's at. If they lose, are they just kind of like, we start Jarrett Stidham. We're done with this whole Cam Newton thing. They asked him about it last week. We said we're not there yet. Yep, that's when you're back on top. So you got fake fans, but we all know who the real fans are. And of course, man, we hate frauds, because we all could have jumped ship for greener pastures long ago. We didn't. We stayed. A lot of you stayed when you knew nothing about the 90s. You heard about the 90s, but you didn't get to enjoy it. You didn't sit through it. You didn't, you heard the stories, you seen the clips. And that's what I said about the guys of the past that have been, prior to 2017, the people at One Bills Drive were guilty of turning that place into the Smithsonian. It was a museum where you came to watch all the cool stuff and by all the cool people that used to happen there. Doesn't happen no more, but we can show you all the cool stuff and drag out this guy and that guy, and you can feel nostalgic and happy about it. But none of that stuff probably going to happen now. Not anymore. I'm thankful about all the cool stuff that's happening now. I'm ready to turn the page. I'm ready to see a new chapter, a new beginning of Bills history. That's what we want. And for the young guys, that this is your first, man, soak it in. You're going to be watching this with your kids, hopefully in a few years. You'll be talking to this. This is the stuff you'll be telling your grandkids about. This is the stuff you're going to be sitting and watching with your kids, hopefully, for decade plus to come. So enjoy the fuck out of this, because this is great. All they televised was Bills games growing up in Toronto. Beautiful city. Clean city, too. Montreal also. Really clean. Beautiful woman. Wow. This next game needs to make a statement. Yeah, I believe that. This game means a lot. This upcoming game is not some like, hey, the Bills won the division, they're in cruise control. Granted, you get the new roster rules. You have 50. You can have the 48 guys up, the extra offensive linemen. Great, take advantage of it. Rest guys, whatever. But still, you go out there to win that fucking game. That's a Patriots team that's not used to being an organization that's not used to being in the position that they're in, where they're not going to the playoffs, they're not winning divisions, they're not hosting playoff games. So I want to see what they're like when their backs are against the wall. Let's see what kind of game that they give the Dolphins or don't give the Dolphins, and then we'll know what we're getting next week. Midnight strikes back. Been a Bills fan since I was 8 years old, and I'm closing in on 42. Witnessed the magic, all 4 runs, Super Bowl, music, yeah, all of it, man. Me, you in the same boat, lived through all of it. A lot of, some of the old cats in here have, and this is, it's so fun to see a new era begin. This is year 3 of Allen, year 4 of McDermott, Bean, all freshly minted contract extensions, and the next is the quarterback. That's the next piece, is getting him signed to a big deal, and that's such a great thing. It's such a great thing. We are not going to hem and haw about the contract extension Josh Allen gets. We're all going to be like, you know what? Whew, fuck yeah. That's a great thing. He was a really good quarterback. That's another thing that you kind of lose sight of. You could hit the quarterback below the knees. You could hit the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback used to get demolished. The quarterback didn't have any more protection in the pocket than he had outside the pocket. He would get, you watch a lot of the older guys. That's why they have all these knee replacements and hip replacements now. Kelly's had he's had like 17 surgeries. Neck surgery. He came into the league with his whole shoulder. He had a complete shoulder separation when he was playing at the University of Miami. That's why he didn't play in his rookie year. And then he went to the USFL. So that guy had a lot of shit. I know he's famous for saying he would never come to Buffalo and he'd rather play in Houston, but you saw what he did once he came to Buffalo, and you saw how he embraced Buffalo and Buffalo embraced him. So I want this group to finish what that they started decades ago. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want to see him, I want to see Josh Allen become the new generation's Jim Kelly and better and better. I want to see him be one of those guys that they fear. You know how it is when we played, the Bills would play Brady or play the good. I want Josh Allen to be that guy now. It's like oh shit, we're playing Josh Allen. Because each and every week Josh Allen is separating himself as the best quarterback of the 2018 class. He is the best quarterback of the 2018 class. I don't want to hear about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is good, but he's not Josh Allen. He's not Josh Allen. Josh Allen's bigger. He's more mobile. He's got a better arm. He's a better leader. And the offense in Cleveland's built around the running game, not Baker throwing. And I made the comparisons with Allen. Think about the comparisons. You have Elway, you have Favre, you have Young, you have Ben. You're talking about Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, multiple Super Bowls, top 10 passers in this league, Hall of Famers. This is what you're comparing. And this guy is in his third year, and he's got so much more on the plate. It's insane. And I think the improvement we're going to see going forward is the mental. And we've already seen the game slow down for him this year. And he made a comment last week when he was talking about the touchdown pass to Gabe Davis. And he said he saw it happen, or it might have been the week before. This Gabe Davis touchdown, I think, to Sherman, over Sherman, and he said he pumped, and he said he saw it happen before it happened. He's like, I could envision it happening before it happened. And when you hear a guy start talking like that, it's like the game is slowing down for him. The game's not too fast. It's just things are just, he's learning. They're coming easier. He knows what he's seeing now. He knows, and that's the thing that I find with Allen now. I don't see a deer in the headlights. I see a calm, cool, collected, poised guy who's sure about what he's doing, who's going to be aggressive but not make a boneheaded mistake, but he's still going to play on that edge where, you know what, I'm going to take a chance, but it's going to be calculated. Granted, there's going to be a tip pass, and things are going to happen, but all in all, I can't have imagined he was going to come this far. 2 more games to go. He's 9 more touchdown passes. I believe he's got the same amount of rushing touchdowns as last year. So he's got a receiving touchdown. It's unprecedented what he's been able to accomplish, in his growth as a quarterback. It really is. I could have never fathomed. I don't think any of us could. I think if you would have said, 25 touchdowns, 6, 7 rushing touchdowns, we would take it. But all of this, wow. He had 9 rushing touchdowns last year, and he's got 8 this year, so he's right there. He had 8 in his first year, but the 9 more touchdown passes with 2 more games to go, and all the yards and the completion percentage is the big number. The amount of he's willing to let his receivers make plays for him, and he's putting balls on guys that are just beautiful. Guys catching guys on the run in stride, and they're making plays after the catch. Man, it's just so fun to watch. So fun to watch. Reminds me of big. I would say I see more Elway. I see more Elway in him because I remember Elway more so before they tried to calm him down when he was at his peak athleticism, and just I would say if he reminds me of a physical thrower, a runner, it's Elway. That's the guy he reminds me of the most, is Elway, which is insane because they had a chance to draft Josh Allen. I don't think Josh Allen, he said it today. They asked him, what did it motivate you to play a team and beat them that passed on you? And he said, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And that's exactly right. Who would have thought after all this time? He's like, yep, and we want you to be here. We're happy. Yeah, Elway. I mean, there's very few quarterbacks because Allen, he wasn't a what is that called? There's a place where they send quarterbacks, young quarterbacks. They're really really good. There's the Manning Passing Academy, and then there's I think at the Elite 11 or something like that, or there's just this place that is Dilfer has something to do with it, and he wasn't recruited, and he had to send out all these letters. He had to go to a junior college and then a real a small Division I Mountain West school, and everything he's grinded for and worked for, and just that's what motivates him. That's what fires him. Of course he's not going to say it, he won't admit to it, but I'm sure all the criticism and the ridicule and the naysayers and the Nick Wrights of the world and the Kai Fahey's and all the PFF guys and the pundits and the analytics people, this and that, I'm sure he sees and hears and reads all of that shit. And he just puts it in the mental Rolodex. He puts it in the mental Rolodex. And every win he stacks and every big game he has and every Bills record he breaks and every time he leads to the playoffs, he makes these guys look like fools every time they continue to put their face on TV and they naysay him. They just look like idiots. And that's fine. Let them look like idiots because we enjoy it. We enjoy it. And he said it on the post-game video in the locker room. He said, this is fun. One not done? One not exactly. It's like we want more. We want more. It's like they're just hungry for ass whoopings, and I love it. They're just hungry to hand out beatdowns. I love it. That's exactly the kind of kill switch mentality you have to have. You have to have that mentality. And we, again, how many times have we watched the Bills be that Broncos team today where they're just getting curb stomped by that young, fun team with an organization on the come up with a fun new young quarterback? We've seen it so many times over the years. So many times. You saw it with I can't even count. Shit, the 04 Steelers didn't even put Big Ben on the field. It was Tommy Maddox, I believe. I believe it was Maddox. But you just count. You go down the list. All of Brady's career, he was that fun new quarterback that was just curb stomping people. Then you had the little bit of the Jets and their success, their 09 2010 success. But you could think about the other little snippets of teams that had the fun young come up guy that the Bills would have to face, and they just didn't have it. They didn't have the organization, they didn't have the quarterback, they didn't have the coaching, they didn't have any of that stuff. And they would get boat raced. But this is the time now we have it. We've seen it so many times. So many times. I think about the Colts, and they draft a guy that is the end all be all, right? He's the anointed one. He's the savior. He's the next big thing. Everybody, he was guaranteed success. He was just, this guy is the best quarterback prospect, not only since, Peyton Manning, he's better. He's Elway. And Andrew Luck, granted he had injuries. I don't think he had the passion and fire for the game Josh Allen did or does. I don't think he has the passion or fire for the game Josh Allen has. The hunger for winning, the insatiable thirst to be great, the insatiable thirst to just do whatever it takes to win and be that dog. I don't think that he had, and you can't give that to somebody. You can't infuse that into somebody. You either have it or you don't. You either want it or you don't. And that's the the separation there for me is you have one guy who just and wants it. He wants it more than anything. And there was one guy who, who was on his way, had all the accolades, all the goodies, but just didn't want it. Just didn't want it. Maybe he was injured, maybe he wasn't. I think he just found a way to leave because he didn't want it. That's, you got to have that as a quarterback. You can't, we all saw it with the, we've seen it close with Brady. Rodgers, Kurt Warner had a killer instinct. Breeze, at his best. I even can't say Peyton. Peyton had it more so in the regular season, but in the playoffs, he seemed not the same. He seemed more beatable. Just a quarterback that just has that death nail mentality, like I'm going to hammer this through the wood. And that's what, that's what we want. That's what I feel like he has. And I feel like, you saw it. They just kept going for the end zone. Lastly, here's Lee Smith. There's the pass to McKenzie, called back. Oh, there's the pass to Kumaro. Oh, you run one in. Oh shit, we didn't get it. Fuck, we're gonna go for it on fourth down. Oh fuck, you get the turnover, run the ball in for a touchdown. And just that's the mentality. It's just keep hammering. And that's the, like you guys said, just match the mentality of the fans, match the passion, the spirit of the fans. I can't imagine what that stadium would be like. I can't imagine. That place would be full. Week 17, for maybe a game they'd watch backups. That place would be packed. 70,000 plus, going nuts. They don't give a fuck what the weather is. Sub-zero, 100, snow, blaring heat. It would not matter. They would be out in mass. In mass. The tailgates would be insane. The environment just would be jump off through the roof. And Bills fans deserve it. They really, really deserve it. And they've earned this. And you see the groups of families watching the games together, and it's so good. And it must feel great to just see a winning product, a product that, we're not just skirting by anymore, beating legit teams, beating teams we're supposed to beat, and just curb stomping teams. The 49ers, you're down your quarterback, you're down your all-pro, you beat that team up. And the Bills, for the most part, beat that team up. I feel like they're a better team man for man than Pittsburgh. You know what? You got the young, new stud quarterback. They've got the older, slowing. Beat that team up. Today, they don't know what they have in their quarterback. They're 4 and whatever, 5 and whatever. At home, I don't care. Beat that team up. And they beat them up. Same thing with the Chargers. They fucked around, turned over the ball 3 times. They gave up a late friends and family time. You still beat that team up. And they did it. And that's what we want. We want to see a team that's a bully, not a punching bag. We want to see a team that's willing to go out there and take the chances and play with that edge, but not be careless and reckless. And we've seen that. The defense has really rounded into form. So it's so much more. I have so much more confidence in the defense now than I did from week 1 to say week 8. It's like now week 8, I've seen the progression. Started in the Seattle game, and it's gotten better each week. Each week it's gotten a little better. It's really gotten better. I mean, they're turning the ball over. They're getting sacks. They're getting pressures. Their tackling is so much better. You notice the first guy there is generally either getting him down or holding him up long enough for the rest of the pursuit to get there. You saw a great open field tackle on Gordon by Milano today. You saw some great stuffs in the backfield, stiffing out screens. And you saw Milano on the field a lot today. He's really – I think he got more snaps than Klein today. And that's a good problem to have because Klein was playing good football. Milano, is who he is. And Tremaine has calmed down a lot. The corners scared to death. White had a stinger, but ended up being okay. Wallace came back in. That's a steady group. A really strong, I mean, all pro plays made today by Trey White. Forcing the fumble, goes for a touchdown. Breaking up a big pass on third down. And then, you have young guys like you have a Cam Lewis, you have Dane Jackson who aren't forced into action, who've had a little bit of game time and played well. And now they, maybe week 17, they can come in and make some plays because they're used to it. They've seen it. They've got a young team that's going to be desperate, wanting a win, having to do things maybe they don't want to do to try to get that win to get into the playoffs. There could be some opportunities there for some young players to really make some plays. But guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It's after midnight. Best part about Saturday is they win. They win in devastating fashion. They just, Mike Tyson a team into oblivion, and we get to sit back on Sunday and on Monday and just relax, watch football, and just chill and just enjoy the games as fans, as observers, and just, don't stress. And it's just, we know what our team did the day prior, and that's just the best part. That's the best part. It's very, very relaxing. So you guys have a great one. Love you all. You guys have been on here through thick and thin, good, bad, and the ugly. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, because, we're finally seeing the kind of football now we've wanted for so long, man. So long. And we were longing to see. We never thought, got to a point where we thought we'd never see it come from a team in, wearing Bills uniforms. But we're finally seeing it. Thank you, man. You guys make the room. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to myself like I do most of the time. That's what I do when I'm here watching the games. I just usually curse to myself or I scream to myself. So, yeah, thank you guys. Go Bills. Enjoy your weeks. Enjoy your week, man. You guys are going to be chilling. You guys are going to be relaxed, having, just a great week. Christmas week. We got our early Christmas gift, a trip to the playoffs 2 weeks early. Get some Bills playoff gear, AFC East championship shirts. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy. And, relax and enjoy the games tomorrow. See what happens. I'm sure we'll be watching Patriots and Dolphins, see what basically the next two opponents for the Bills. So definitely a game we'll be watching. Love you all. Go Bills. AFC East champs.